That is a great question. When did I meet Led Zeppelin? Let me go back in the time machine to January 23rd, 1969, at the Boston Tea Party in Boston, Massachusetts. Here is the story. Now, a lot has happened since I first met Jimmy Page and the Yardbirds April the previous year. I saw the Beck group, Jethro, Tull. Rock acts were breaking out everywhere, and heavy music, hard rock, was really on the rise. Now, the Beck show was really what I'd call tight, extremely creative blues rock. The first Led Zeppelin album had just hit the airwaves, and we knew they were coming from LA, and they would be red hot. So, of course, we got tickets. I think they were $3, and they were there for 4 nights. So the first night was a Thursday night, and my friend Steve Blodgett and I, who was the rhythm guitar player in my first all-original group, Pale Rider, went to see the show. And while we were standing in the line, I saw Charlie Flannery and his wife, Kathy. It was kind of cold, and we were shooting the breeze with Charlie and Kathy and Steve. Steve had a little hash pipe with some black Lebanese hash, and we used that to keep warm until we got inside. The first group was a group called... Nobody really cared about them. They just wanted Zeppelin, so I really couldn't tell you much about their set. But when Zeppelin came on, that was something else. They walked right through the crowd like royalty, like a "We Have Arrived" procession. They took the stage, and there was a lot of sort of tuning up and sound checking on the fly. In those days, it was not all worked out like today. Guitar player might break a string or be tuning up after the first song. Drummer's hitting his drums and trying to get a sound check. So there was a lot of broken continuity. In the first set, they did Train Kept a Rollin', I Can't Quit You, Dazed and Confused, and the Howlin' Wolf song, Killin' Floor. Then the band exited. Jimmy Page sat down on a chair, got out the Silvertone Dan Electro, and played White Summer. It was really beautiful, and it was a whole change of pace for the audience. Got everybody simmered down a little bit. When they came back electrically, they started with Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, which has that powerful, heavy section at the end that would become almost like a Zeppelin trademark, like in Stairway to Heaven. That old synagogue at 53 Berkeley Street was rocking off the hook that night. What do you think? Was that great or what? Man, that was a fabulous song. John Bonham played a solo on a song called Pat's Delight. It was kind of similar to Ginger Baker's Toad. It was just a full-on feature. And man, he went like a freight train on that. Playing with his hands, hitting his big old gong. It was just amazing. The chemistry he had with John Paul Jones, they were like a machine, just locked in. The entire Zeppelin band was like a high-speed, super slick, ultra-functioning railroad train. That's the only way I can describe it. They were just hitting on all 8 cylinders at once, taking the crowd higher and higher. Robert Plant's antics, Jimmy answering with guitar, call and response once again. They took the audience to another place. Some of the highlights of set 2 were White Summer / Black Mountainside, another incredible version of Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, and close out with How Many More Times. Such a riff, it just drove everybody crazy. They didn't play an encore that night, but the show was just... It's hard to say. Everybody there knew that something incredible had just happened. They had witnessed the birth of a supergroup. This was going to be bigger, this by Zeppelin, than anything that anyone had ever seen before. Now, at the end of the night, I saw Henry Smith, my friend the roadie from the Yardbirds. And he said, "Hey, mate, how are you?" I said, "I'm doing great." He said, "I will put you on the guest list for tomorrow night. Come on back, and I'll introduce you to the guys." I said, "That sounds great. Have a super night, and I'll see you tomorrow." Now, the second night, I got there early, hooked up with Henry right away, met Richard Cole, their manager, and had a chance to talk with Jimmy one-on-one for a while. And we talked about guitars, guitar strings, blues masters, different gigs they had been on, challenges he had getting his band together. I mean, it was just a free-for-all. Probably 30 minutes of just shooting the shit with one of the greatest guitar players alive. They started up their set, and I was right there in the dressing room looking on the side. And once again, the energy was just crazy. And if you read interviews about the band later, and they were asked, when did you know that you were going to really be something big with Zeppelin? And they said that night at the Boston Tea Party. It changed it all for them. They knew it. The first night when they got together and they rehearsed, they all smiled and they looked at each other after playing the first song, and they knew that everybody in that band could be a band leader in their own band. They were killer. Whereas in the Jeff Beck group, Jeff Beck was the man, and he had Rod Stewart as his front man, but they weren't like Zeppelin. Zeppelin was a glove that fit together like pieces of a puzzle. Let's listen to another cut off the first Led Zeppelin album. You can feel the energy that had to be soaking through that room. Let's check it out. The Dazed and Confused solo was so good, perfectly constructed, and it was a benchmark for all up-and-coming guitar players to study and learn. There are 4 or 5 sections that are absolutely critical to getting the solo right. And most guitar players that started really getting heavy into Zeppelin have incorporated Jimmy Page licks into their style. Mark my words. They were so tight, so hot. Bonham, Plant, Page, and John Paul Jones just made an incredible force once they hit that stage. Man, that was great. I hadn't heard anything like that before. These guys were rocking. And this would be one of the last times before Zeppelin turned into a stadium act. You could tell that the days of the $3.50 Led Zeppelin ticket were over. Cream had broken up. There was a big void for stadium acts, and you know that Zeppelin was going to be filling that void. They did Killin' Floor, Dazed and Confused, which blew everybody's mind, and then I Can't Quit You, which was another blues song that was just off the chain good, incredible. The improvisation between Robert Plant and Jimmy Page's guitar Sometimes it was almost indistinguishable, the notes and the range. And Bonzo Bonham on the drums, he sounded like 20 guys back there. John Paul Jones playing great bass, organ. He really covered the field. They had so much artillery to work with. Let's listen to a little bit of this great music right now. This all influenced me tremendously as a guitar player. Going from seeing the Yardbirds, which were basically a radio band with great guitar players, to a completely improvisational band led by Jimmy Page, where he would just go until he couldn't go anymore. And then they'd come out of the riff and go back into the tune. And I saw that was the direction I wanted to go in. So I started practicing 9 to 11 hours a day, where I could just play for 4, 5, 6 hours straight, soloing, not stopping. So I was taking these guys and using them as the model. They wrapped up the set with How Many More Times, For Your Love from the Yardbirds, and Over, Under, Sideways, Down, which was a great Jimmy Page riff. In the encore, they did Long Tall Sally, 2 Eddie Cochran songs, Come On Everybody, and they left the stage again. The crowd wouldn't let them go. They came back and did Please Please Me, Roll Over Beethoven, and Johnny Be Good. Finally, after the 4th encore, they were completely exhausted. They had nothing left to give. They left it all on the stage. And it was because of that kind of determination and love for what they were doing that helped propel them right to the top. And that, my friends, is my story of meeting Led Zeppelin. 2 separate nights, back to back, incredible shows. It was just remarkable. However, it would be July, just a few months away in the summer, when I would see and meet the biggest rock stars of my life. And I'm talking about the 1969 Newport Jazz and Folk Festival that had Johnny Winter, B.B. King, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Roland Kirk, Jethro Tull, 10 years after, Pink Floyd, Jeff Beck, Led Zeppelin. The list goes on, and I met and talked to every single one of those guys. I hope you enjoyed this story about Led Zeppelin. Keep some love in your heart, keep a song in your head, and I'll see you down the story highway in the next episode.